So my name's Tabitha. I'm a heroin addict. Here we are. Thanks so much for having me, you guys. Is this thing? Yep, okay. We're good. All right. I'm in a dress. This doesn't happen often, so... Yeah, man, I'm a strange human being. I don't know if anybody can relate in the room. And I get a little bit weird. So if some strange shit comes out of my mouth right now, that's just what you get, you know? I've got a sobriety date. It's January 7th, 2012. I've got a sponsor. I sponsor some girls, home group, service commitments, all that good stuff. And that's what they told me when I got here, and that's what they still tell me when I call and complain about shit. So those are the things that I do. And I've so far gotten to stay sober. I always think it's real important to just say in my story, like, I had a real normal childhood. I would come into meetings, for a long time I tried to get sober and would come to meetings high, and I would hear people talk about all these traumatic things that had happened to them. And that wasn't my story. You know, I grew up in like a suburb of Phoenix, and we loved each other and had things, and you know, I was in like clubs and sports and the band, and to all appearances, a very normal child with a loving family. And we said like appreciations at night, which was basically like a gratitude list. And we'd be like, but most of all, I appreciate you, you know? So like my family tried real hard to like make sure that I didn't stand here today. And I just think that's an important message to have, because, like, you know, there's not really any event in my life that I think made me who I am. I believe that this is a spiritual malady that I was born with, and I'm so grateful that it came forward in such a horrific way so that I could, you know, have this purposeful new life that has emerged out of it. So, I was never going to drink or do drugs. I don't know if you guys have the DARE program anywhere else, but in Arizona, that's what we do. And I sang that DARE song loud and proud, and was sure that that was just all for bad people, and I was never going to do that. Obviously, that's not the case, because here I am. But I just remember getting invited to a lot of parties and stuff, and that I was always like, no, I don't do that. I do remember ending up at a party. I was probably 12 or 13, and I had my first like abnormal thought about a substance. And I walked in, and they were playing beer pong, and I was like, "Why the fuck are they playing games with that?" You know, like I know in my mind you're supposed to just down the hatch, get as drunk as you can, and that's it. You know, I've never experienced that feeling before at this point in my life, but that's what I knew in my brain for some reason. So I knew pretty early on, like the way that I think about substances. Probably not normal, but you know, it wasn't very apparent to me until many years later. So needless to say, I did not play beer pong that night. Took 3 shots of Everclear, face down on the floor. It was fine, you know, nothing that bad happened to me. I just remember feeling like I wasn't a fucking weirdo anymore. You know, I didn't feel like my hands and feet were too big for my body. I was in everyone's top 8 on MySpace. I was pretty stoked. For some reason, when I drink booze, I always make a toga out of a sheet. I don't know why. And there was lots of pictures of that, and I just felt like I was finally fucking cool, you know? Because, like, I hear speakers say, like, I always felt so different. And for me, it wasn't always, like, a bad difference. Sometimes it was a good different. Like, I'm more important or less important or more weird or less weird or my hands are too big or, you know, whatever the fuck it was. I would separate myself from other human beings in every way I could possibly find. And I don't really know where that stems from, you know, but that's just the way that my brain always thought. And so when I would ingest random substances at random times, I would feel that separation disappear, and I wouldn't need to even try and create it, because I was just like, we're all one, you know? Now, I'm pretty good at the double life. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to do that before, but my whole family thought that I was just this real normal kid playing the clarinet in the band. And, you know, like any good heroin addict, I was going down the road of crushing up some pills as well, you know, and doing those types of things. And I didn't experience a whole lot of terrible things. Like, in my mind, the DARE program, right, I'm supposed to do drugs and die immediately. or I'm supposed to like do drugs and lose all of my teeth at once. None of those things happened to me. So I was like, all right, you know. So I end up somehow graduating high school with honors, and like I just remember sitting on the field practicing at like 5 a.m. I don't know why I had to practice for graduation, but I'm on the field, and I'm still throwing up from being fucked up the night before. I haven't slept, and I'm throwing up on the field, and everyone else is like awake and ready for their day and practicing for high school graduation, and I'm thinking, I was partying with these people last night, like why aren't they sick, you know? Didn't really make sense to me that I had ingested a lot more than they had and that I had kept going once they were done. Because I don't know about being done. I'm not really sure what that is. So I go to this, I get a scholarship to ASU, and my parents still think I'm this lovely child, and so they buy me they pay my rent at this college housing, right? And I go down to the pool to grab my first male hostage of college. And in the first day, I find him. I set my eyes on this man. I don't think we ever spoke, but I was just like, we're watching the VMAs at my apartment. Let's go. And so we start watching the VMAs. We're smoking weed. And he gets up and asks for a glass of water. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, you can have a glass of water. And he goes into my kitchen and picks up a pan off the stove and just starts beating the shit out of the microwave with it, and jumps up on the counter and is ripping the track lights off of the ceiling. And I'm looking at him going, wow, that is not the same weed that I smoked, you know? I don't know. So we get him out onto the balcony, me and my roommate, we're like, you gotta go. He looks at me, he looks at her, and he jumps off of our third-story balcony onto his back in the rocks. And I'm thinking, man, I just fucking killed a man. You know, day one of college, I just killed a man. This is horrible. He did not die. He jumped back up and was like, I need an ambulance. And the only reason that I tell that story, and, you know, this just kind of gives insight into the way that my addict mind thinks, right, is that his brother came to my house the next day and was like, who gave him the mushrooms? And I was like, what? Mushrooms? And so I tried mushrooms for the first time the next day. Because I want to know what that guy's feeling, right? Like, fuck yeah. So, you know, trust me, heroin's my thing. That's what brought me to the rooms. But, like, there's just so many patterns of this thinking that's ingrained in me that's not even something I came up with. It's just there from the start. Before I ever even ingest a substance, I'm thinking, like, these really abnormal things about it, and acting in very, very strange ways and having these like abnormal reactions to them that my friends are not having. And, you know, at the moment I can't recognize that, but looking back at it, I can just see this like pattern after pattern. So I'm walking around dorm rooms, knocking on doors, you know, what can I get here? What do you got? How much does that cost? Can I do that every day? And eventually I need to take a medical leave of absence from school because I can't show up to school anymore. And at this point, I'm just snorting a bunch of pills all the time, and I've lost a bunch of weight, and my parents are like, what's wrong with you, you know? And I tell them that I wanted to get ahead of the freshman 15, so I lost, you know, the freshman 50. But it's really because I'm not eating food, I'm eating drugs all day long, right? And I steal a pack of peanut M&Ms every single day from the gas station because it's got protein and sugar, and that will keep me alive, right? So I've got these stories and these webs just fucking weaving all around me to like my friends, my family, everyone in my life, the school, right? Medical leave of absence, like doing drugs, you know? And the upkeep on that web of lies, I mean, I don't assume that there's any other liars in the room, but like the upkeep, right? It's hard work. And I started to experience some consequences, you know, like I can't go to school anymore. And so, you know, classic story, looking for pills one day. I don't got pills, but I got heroin. And I'm like, you know, the first time someone offers you heroin and you hear the word and you're like, that's the one I'm not supposed to do. That's the bad one. You know, like, what the fuck else am I putting in my body? Like, really? That's the one? So this girl dicks me out of like 0.1 for $100 just to smoke one tray, right? And I think like this is a great deal because I have no idea at this point, right? Everyone's done that in the room, right? Because I did that later on. I was like, yep, it'll be $100. So I take a hit. I run to the bathroom. I start immediately projectile vomiting. Nobody can relate. I don't see any heads shaking. Just, oh my God, so much, right? The second my head lifts up from that toilet, I'm thinking, can I do this every day? All the time? How much does it cost? Where can I get it? Is this going to be all right? Am I going to live? I think I'm alive. I'm still alive. This is the best feeling ever, right? And my life turns into just that constant seeking for that feeling. In any form I can possibly find it, with no regard for any consequences or any harm that I cause other human beings. So, it was a downhill slide from there. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of consequences, but then I hit that point in my life, and it was just exponential drop from there. So, like I said, I lose all this weight. I get in a bunch of car accidents. I'm in the hospital 6 times in 7 months. Apparently, if you smoke black tar heroin off of tinfoil with plastic, it's bad for your lungs. So I'd sit in my room in this house that my parents are paying for because I'm still this really good child that's like, I don't know why they still thought that, but, the web of lies was good. And I'm sitting in the hospital. Well, I would sit in my room and I would turn purple because I couldn't breathe. My fingers would start to turn purple, and I'd be like, okay, I just need to smoke a little bit more of this so that I can figure out how to not be purple. And then one of my roommates would come in and be like, God damn it, Tabitha, what are you doing? And they'd rush me to the hospital, and they'd put the little thing on my finger, and it'd be 80% oxygen, which is not good at all. That's you should be dead at that point. I'm withering away, my skin's gray, my face is picked out. So one day I call my mom, and I'm like, now, here's the deal. I had no one else in my life that I really loved a whole lot other than my mom at that point. And she was the one person I was like, I can't let her know about this, because it would just crush her, because she just loves me so much and has this whole, the web of lies that I've fed her. I need that to be true for her so that she's not broken, right? That was my excuse. So I call her up one day, and I'm like, I got to tell you something. You got to sit down. And she's just like, you're pregnant, aren't you? To this day, she probably still wishes I had been, but I was not. I was like, actually, I've been doing a lot of drugs. I had to say pills because that word is scary. So I was like, I've just been doing some pills. And she's like, you need to come home. I was like, well, I think I need to go to this place called Detox. All my friends are going there, and it's going to be great. And so begins my journey of being high in the rooms for 2.5 years. And people are always like, why would you go to meetings high? That sounds horrible. I'm like, dude, the second I showed up here, I knew there was something about you guys. I did, you hear people talking and you're like, they're speaking my language, but they don't look like me, and this is weird. But I knew there was something here. And so, my first detox, it was I got there, and 2 days later, I was like, this is a horrible mistake. They put me in the psych ward for some reason. I don't know why. They always put me in the psych ward instead of detox, I didn't really think it was that serious, but I remember them making us go to meetings in there, but I would really just go to see whatever male hostage I had with me that was in the male unit. We would meet up at the meetings, catch eyes and plan out our next mountain of heroin we were going to have to last us for the rest of our lives. Which never fucking happened. So, every time I would either leave somewhere, I would sign up for their IOP because I need to prove to everyone else that I'm super serious about this. I'm going to stay sober and try real hard. It's outpatient. I don't know if you guys call it the same thing out here or whatever. But, and I'd go to them and I'd tell other people how to get sober. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, this stuff, page 60, it talks about you should really read this part. It's good. While nodding out and faking my drug tests and all of that, right? Because I was like, okay, I really understand this in my brain. It makes sense in my brain, but I was not having an experience with any of that information, right? It was all just the shit that came up in my brain. So I went in and out of these places, and I would leave there and I would think okay, if I can just figure out how to manage this so that nobody knows I'm still getting high, but I look really sober, and I can like still pay all this money for fake pee to pass drug tests, right? Like still this web of fucking lies is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more unmanageable to even try and upkeep. So I went to like, I don't even know how many detoxes, treatment centers, all of that. But every time I would go there, I would think, okay, I just need to get away from like all these bad people and places and things, right? Like that's like the treatment talk, like bad people, places, and things. But like, I think maybe they weren't the problem, because like I would go there and I would feel worse than when I was around all the bad people, places, and things, right? Like I would get there and I would think, oh no, this was all a mistake. I'm fine. It's not that serious. I really need to get out of here. And I would like convince them, like, oh yeah, I'm really not that bad. It was actually just pills. I did the heroin the one time. That's why it came up on my drug screen. You know, it's not that serious. The problem is that like when you take away the drugs from my body, I fucking hate who I am. My skin feels like shit. My brain feels like shit. The web of lies unfolds. And I can't stand being right here, right now, in this moment, because it's too fucking much, you know? And so I would experience that, and I would panic, and I would run, you know? Again, I don't think there's any other runners in the room, but... So I end up at this, you know, I'm just like doing all this crazy shit, like really anything that I possibly can, and I'd burned every bridge and lost every job, and all the hostages were long gone, because they were like, bitch, you crazy. And like, you know, we would just, me and whoever I could find would go like carjacking and just doing all this criminal shit. I have no idea how I never got arrested. You know, I don't know if that would have stopped my path earlier than it did, but like, just all this stuff that I think back on now, and I'm like, wow, that's actually not a good thing to do. But at the moment, like it didn't register as like I was breaking a law. It was like, I need to get what I need to get so that I can feel better, so that I can be in this moment again. So that it's not too much to be here, to be me, to be this, to be in this skin, right? So I went to the psych ward another time, and I had my first spiritual experience, and I hated spirituality. My family is very like military background, pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of stuff. And they never said this, but this was the message that I took from them saying, if you ever want to go to church, let us know. I heard, we don't need God, that's for weak people, right? I don't know where that translated, but there was some other fucked up shit in there, so maybe it got jumbled. So I show up at this place, and my roommate is this crazy lady. She's banging her head on the... It was just, I don't even know what was going on with her, but she couldn't speak words. It was just like, I was like, what is this? I don't belong with her, you know? And I've got my one pair of clothes, and I peel them off of me, because I've been homeless at this point, living in my laundry basket. And I peel my clothes off of me, and they're like stuck to places nothing should ever be stuck, because I've been wearing them forever, you know? And I put them on the floor, and I fall asleep. And, you know, they give you whatever the good drugs are. So I wake up however many days later, shaking in the fetal position, and I look over, and all of my clothes are folded, like perfectly. And she's standing there next to the bed, just looking at me. And on top of my clothes is just this perfectly handwritten little note, and it just says, we're never so lost that our angels can't find us. And now, like, I don't even know if I really believe in angels, you know? But, like, I just saw that, and I was like, what the fuck? There's hope for me. Someone like me isn't too lost. And, you know, I didn't stay sober. I went back to the laundry basket. It's actually a really good system, you know? It just always makes you look like you're going to get your laundry done. And you're like, this is actually my house. And you can keep all your belongings in there. So I had like a purse with nothing in it, my setup to get high, and a blanket, and then the clothes on my back. And that's all I owned, right? And I just go back and forth on the light rail to and from Phoenix, Mesa. And I just thought, you know, maybe like there's people put on the planet that are like good influences. And I was just here to show people how not to live, you know? And it was, I had just kind of accepted my fate as like, I'm just showing them how to not be, This existence is not the one for you, Like, here you go. Don't become this. But, like, how fucking sad, that so many lives are just wasted on that thought alone, that we're just somehow too lost or broken or whatever. And so I ended up at another treatment center. I spent 90 days there, and that was the first time that I went to an HA meeting. And I got in there, and I saw this woman who was, like, fucking floating across the room in her flowy skirt. And she was, like, talking about stuff that I was like, okay, I know about that stuff. But I was like, there is no way she's ever done heroin, because she doesn't look like me, right? I'm sitting in the back with my hoodie, and I'm just fucking angry, right? So angry. And, like, really just scared, because my, like, human shell is, like, freshly detoxed, and it feels uncomfortable to be alive again. And, like, I had my first experience with, like, finding you guys and seeing that, like, we don't always die. Because a lot of people have died in my life. I'm sure anybody can relate, but, like, I got to that treatment center, and the person who dropped me off at the light rail to get there, he was dead within, like, the next 5 days. And I went to his funeral while I was at that treatment center. And, like, there's just been so many people that I've seen all this devastation from. And I walk into the rooms of HA in Arizona, and I'm like, holy shit, these are my people, And, like, meetings weren't that big yet out there, but, like, there was enough people that I was like, I could probably hang out with these people. So I got out of that treatment center, and I worked all 12 of my steps. I was, on fire for the program, but I had drank while I was in treatment and decided, I had this experience afterwards. I don't really need to change my sobriety date. It's only 10 days. I can just, brush it under the rug. It'll be fine. It's alcohol. That's not my problem. I just like to shoot dope, However, I got out of that treatment center, and I went to my sponsor's house to do I did my 12-step, and didn't tell her that I was thinking about getting high. And went and picked up drugs and put them in my pocket, and got a little bag of heroin, traded a bunk gift card for it. And my drug dealer looked at me and said, "You need help me, huh?" With, like, the judgiest look. You need help. And this guy's been, like, selling heroin for, like, 50 years. So I was like, ooh, it's probably not good. And I have it in my pocket. And I'm driving, and I go to my Friday night home group, hit or miss. And I get a home group and a service commitment and a sponsee, and I've got heroin in my pocket. And all that I want to do, everything in me just wants to say, fucking help me throw this away. I don't want to do it. But I don't. Right, like, someone explained it to me one time. I had this notion about the first step, that it's like some kind of Zen riddle, right? Like, bliss. Here I am. I'm on my own. I'm standing up here. I'm saying hello. I'm Tabitha. I'm doing this, right? And this man at the treatment center that I went to, named Rusty, would say, now, bear with me. It's a strange metaphor, but, like, analogy, metaphor, whatever. He goes, it's like a lamp. No matter what kind of lamp you have, electric, flame, solar, whatever kind of lamp you have, it needs a power source from somewhere else. It will never produce light on its own power, ever. That lamp is not producing the light. It will get it from the plug, it will get it from the flame, it will get it from the sun. It needs an outside power source, right? You will never emit sobriety on your own power. It will never come from you. In and of yourself, me, in and of myself, I'll always shoot dope. I've proved it time and time again. I tried to get sober for so long, and every single time, no matter how much I didn't want to, no matter how many great reasons I had, no matter how many tears were streaming down my mom's face as she was dropping me off at the drug dealer, no matter how much traumatic shit I had been through, Every single time I got high. And so, I thought I was going to pass a drug test in my outpatient that I signed up for, because you know me, I love the outpatient. Got to prove to everyone else that I'm sober. And my mom, was a little skeptical after I got out of that treatment center, and so she asked them to drug test me, and it had been like 4 days. So I was like, it's fine, my liver's got this. I pee in the cup, it comes back positive for opiates, duh. Right, because that night I went back to my sober living house and got high in the closet. Super fun experience if you've never tried it. Went out on the patio, everyone's fucking sober in the pool, and I'm smoking a cigarette, just trying so hard not to nod. Just like, yep, absolutely sober. Mm-hmm. And so I go and I take this drug test and I fail it. And this same woman with the flowy skirt from the HA meeting worked at the treatment center. And she comes in with the drug test and is like, you failed the drug test. And I was like, well, I took some migraine medicine a couple days ago. Would that have done it? And she's like, we have this 20-minute argument, right? And I'm just lying and weaving my fucking web of lies like I do best. And she just looks at me and goes, the test doesn't usually lie about this substance, but you do. And I was like, fuck. And I just started sobbing, right? And immediately the fellowship picked me up, right? This woman came and picked me up. She made me brush my teeth and wash my hands before I could get in her car because I was disgusting. And took me to a meeting, and I got a newcomer chip that filled up my gallon bag full of newcomer chips. And, it's so strange because that wasn't the day that I was going to get sober. That wasn't the day that I was like, this is my last time. I'm going to do it up right. Like I was in a closet at Sober Living, and it was a sad sack that I traded for a gift card. And I planned to go on a run, right? But when I woke up and was so fucking broken, when they say in the book it says to drink is to die, right? Like for me to use or to drink is not to die physically, like I die fucking spiritually. And so at that point I had been connected to that power source for my lamp, right? And it just was fucking ripped out from underneath me, and that feeling felt like spiritual death. And so the program swooped me up. I got on every fucking committee. I was on HA World Board with I think I had 60 or 90 days sober, and I was like, guys, I don't know if I can be here. We had 5 people on HA World Board, and I think the most time was maybe 5 years. It was amazing, right? We would vote on this stuff, and I'd be like, I don't know. I just got sober. I don't know. I just got sober, But I would show up, and I knew, every third Sunday of the month, I'm going here because this is my committee meeting, right? And I would go, and I would get all these home groups, and just thrown into service. Because here's the deal, right? Like I said, I had worked the steps before, and still got high. And so what I was told from early on was have an experience with the steps. Be fucking skeptical of them. If you don't believe in God, if you think God is for weak people, say that to your sponsor when you're working your second step. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, that's the rigorous honesty part. Put your truth out there because we can't help you if you don't tell us where you're at, right? So I would be like, yeah, dude, I think God's dumb. I don't think that some mystical creature is going to solve my heroin problem, And that kind of shit, being able to just say, look, I fucked up. I've been doing this, this, and this. And having someone walk me through, how to make an amends for that and how to clean that up and how to not continue that behavior is the means by which I was able to stick around. And so, we had all these conventions and everything was crazy, and I got through my steps in 45 days, and there was just all these newcomers just pumping in through treatment centers, and I think I would sponsor 15 girls at a time, and I had no responsibility, guys. I had to have a job to stay in sober living, and so I sold office supplies over the phone, and it was commission-based only, and I suck at sales. I never sold a single thing. I made $0, and I worked there for 4 months. And I was always taken care of. I was always provided for. I always had a pack of smokes. I always had a $1 to put in the basket. it just all always fell together. And so it felt like as I started to just do the right thing and just put one foot in front of the other and be of service and show up for the fellowship, my life just happened. I didn't need to force it. It just happened. It just showed up, And so things got really, really, really good. I started working in treatment, and I was around newcomers all the time, and just experiencing so many promises so early on. And so I got all these cool things, I got a car, and I got a house with my friends from sober living, all this stuff. But I was starting to feel this peace, and I was starting to realize I don't have a web of lies anymore. I mean, there was a few, right? There was a few. But here's the deal is I did some shit when I was first sober, I was a little bit promiscuous from my days on the streets, right? And did some things that were not super wholesome. But the reality of it is I was willing to go to my sponsor and say, look, this is what's going on. And I was willing to go to my friends who had called me out and say, what do I do next? What action am I supposed to take, right? It says in the book, if we're sorry for our conduct and are willing to do something different, it'll be all right. But if we're not, we're quite sure to get loaded. So, all I knew is, okay, I fucked up, but I need to be honest about it. I need to clean it up so I don't continue this because I don't want to get high anymore. Because at this point, I've finally connected in my brain that spiritual death happens when I put a substance in my body. And I don't like that feeling anymore because I fucking love being spiritually awake, right? I can be right here in this skin and be okay, right? This isn't too much anymore to just simply be alive and be human and have this size of hands, right? So I start sponsoring all these girls, and just life gets really, really big. And I make amends and I clean up my past, right? At that point, my parents had asked me never to speak to them again. My whole family was like, yeah, we're going to need some restraining orders because, I had stolen everything from them, climbing in through the doggy door, right? So finally was able to clean a lot of that up and, start to, have dinner with my family every once in a while, and start to have these conversations about this new life that I was living. And so, God, how long have I been talking? Okay. So life got really big, and really good. And that's what happens here is we get this life. And so it was real easy for me to be okay, I'm busy. I've got things to do, right? I still always kept commitments and sponsored girls and all of that, but I was getting married and got pregnant, and getting a house and a car and all these nice things, right? And it's real easy for all of that to get in the way of the fact that I'm a fucking junkie that lived in a laundry basket, all of a sudden I need a bigger car, I need a bigger house, I gotta have another kid, I gotta do all of these better things. Now that I've achieved this level, I need to make it a competition and go to the next level. And so, for me, I can't get too far away from this thing because I go real south real quickly. So along the way, I've had a lot of people to really call me out on my shit. And I'm so grateful for the people, especially the women that I met in the rooms, because I hated women and they were all bitches and we all fucked each other over. And then I got in the rooms, and they were like, hey, you're fucking up. Let's go to a meeting. Hey, dude, you probably shouldn't do that. Let's work some steps. Come to this workshop with me. Come be on this convention committee with me. And, they would jump me in and, help me. They would. They would just be like, bitch, get in the car, But that's the shit right there, right? Is nobody gave a shit about my feelings. They all gave a shit about my life. And so the woman with the flowy skirt that worked at the treatment center, right, she stood next to me on my wedding day, and I stood next to her on hers, right? And those are the people. There's many more just like her, but it's a great example. Those are the people that cared enough about my life to be what are you doing? Here's the solution. Let's look at this. Let's take the action to get to the solution. Because all your fucking problems that are made up in your head, they're not the solution, right? At least for me, I like to make up a lot of stories in my head. So right after I had my daughter, she was like 6 months old, got a knock at the door. It was DCS, and they had my niece and my nephew, who were 4 and 5, and they were like, hey, would you like these children? So my husband's family member is one of us, and could no longer care for them. And I was like, we're going to save the kids. This is my new task. We're going to save the children, right? And I'm going to be such a good person. And I'm going to devote all of my time to making sure that they get the life that they deserve because I'm such a good person, right? And I just nosedived into this obsessive spiral of getting them to appointments and making sure that I had everything that I needed for them, and that they were having a good life, and that we were providing all the things that they never had with their mom because she was on drugs, right? And God, I just got so far from spiritual center, and all the hair on the left side of my head fell out, super fucking stressed, gained a bunch of weight, super unhealthy, and just more often than not wanted to die, in sobriety. And I brought this information to my sponsor and was like, hey, dude, I'm fucking resentful at everybody. And all that anybody can say to me is, it's all right that you didn't come to the meeting. I know you're super with those kids. You're such a good person for doing that. But my ego doesn't fucking need that. And my sponsor was like, dude, you chose to take them in. And I was like, well, what else was I going to do? And she's like, say no. There's other family. And I was like, I'm supposed to be the savior and the good person, right? And she just broke my brain, and I was like, fuck, self-imposed crisis. Here I am again, right? Just continually making these situations to where I feel like I'm drowning in this misery shit pile, and really I created it. At some point in the past, I made decisions based on self that placed me in this position to be harmed. And so I got real busy back in the work, and God, man, I picked up these 5 sponsees on accident because the kids moved out. They went to a foster home because I was losing my goddamn mind, and I was not fit to take care of anybody's children, even my own. She stayed with me. I didn't boot my own kid out, but. This girl called me and was like, hey, I'm at a treatment center and I need you to sponsor me. And I was like, cool, yeah. And she told me her name. And I was like, cool. So then later on in the day, she calls me again. She's like, hey, I'm at this treatment center. My name's blah, blah, blah. Will you sponsor me? And I was like, yeah. Didn't we already talk? And she was like, no. I was like, oh, that's weird. So I go there and I find out it's 2 girls with the same name at the same place. And then the next day, same fucking thing happens with 2 more girls with the same name at a different treatment center. And I'm like, what? And then while I was there, another girl was shaming me into sponsoring her. So I was like, I don't have time for all of this, guys. I just went through a really traumatic time in my life. I don't have time for this, right? And again, I'm so fucking grateful for the people in my life because they were like, bitch, you have all the time in the world. You don't have the 4 and 5-year-old anymore. That took up your entire life. You got plenty of time. And they're all right there at the treatment center. You can just go there and do step work with them. And I was like, fuck, you're right. And so I took these 5 girls through their steps real quick, and they saved my fucking life. Because better than anything else, that intensive work with another heroin addict is what does it for me. It right-sizes me and reminds me where I came from, and also shows me the solution and the action and the willingness of a newcomer, dude. We were just talking about this outside. I feel like people with 9 months sober are just fuck yeah, sobriety, and it's still like maybe you don't have a whole lot of responsibility. It's like that right there is magical. When I see that in someone, I'm like, yes, that feeling. I know that feeling. I love that feeling, So these 5 girls saved my life because all 5 of them did different things. One of them worked the steps and got busy working with others and was on committees, and she stayed sober and is still sober today and is on fire. There's another girl who worked the steps and decided she didn't need to be of service, and she's miserable. And then there's another one who worked all her 12 steps and decided she could smoke some weed. She's not just smoking weed anymore. One girl got to her 9th step, didn't do them. And I told her, look, this is where a lot of people relapse. Like, if you don't clean up the past, shit's going to come back and haunt you. And she relapsed. And the last one did the same thing and sent me a text message and was like, hey, I'm really afraid to make this amends. And I called her and we talked about the fear prayer, and we talked about that it's really, really fucking scary to make an amends to somebody. But it's more fucking scary to think about the feeling of sitting in the fetal position on the floor with sweat beads dripping down your skin, trying to find a fucking vein, and you just can't find a fucking vein. I don't know if you guys sweat, but it's like 100 million degrees in Arizona, so I fucking sweated. And just like writhing in pain, detoxing because you can't pick shit up until the dude opens, you know? Like that I'm more fucking afraid of than walking up to somebody and being like, hey man, I really fucked up, I hurt you. Like, I was wrong, what I did. You know, like, it's terrifying, but, like, I'd much rather do that than writhe in pain on, like, a gas station bathroom floor with my laundry basket full of vomit, you know? And she never responded. And 2 weeks later, she was found dead in her bed at the sober living house, where all of my other sponsees lived. And those are the things that happen to us, you know? They talk about jails, institutions, and death in the book. But for me, there's really like spiritual freedom and spiritual death. That's it, you know? And so these past years of my life have been really fucking cool. Getting back into the work, and like I never was really not in the work, but like authentically back into the work and truly feeling that freedom and walking through things that don't feel great, you know? And I feel like, you know, I've got some years sober, and so like I should be some kind of person, and I don't always feel like I'm her. And I have this thing about like, I, for some reason, need to be perfect, but nobody else does, right? So I have these really high standards for myself. I also typically have really high standards for other humans, but like, I'm the hardest on myself, right? Except when I'm in traffic, then I'm the hardest on you. So, you know, I recently went back through my steps and just had this experience where like I was finally able to just cry and be like, I'm not okay. I need to find spiritual freedom again because I'm moving back towards spiritual death. And so it was funny because I was asked to speak here, and then I was like, God, I'm like really probably not going to be that great. And then I went through like all this stuff, not even like external stuff, guys. Like there's nothing external in my life today that's really that dramatic. Like I don't have any crazy stories for you. Like my life is just like a pretty regular life. The only crazy shit that goes down is the stories that I make up in my head about me, about you, about the world, about all this stuff that isn't real. And so coming to terms with that and being like, wow, dude, like, why do I have this need for superiority, you know? Why do I think that for some reason I need to be perfect to be enough? Why do I think that for some reason my hands need to be a different size, you know? And so, like, really just getting back to gratitude. Because here's the deal, guys, is like my sassy little 4-year-old uses my laundry basket house for her motherfucking laundry. In my house that I have now, right? That like I pay the bills on regularly, on time. And I like show up for my family. And I'm like married to someone that wants to be married to me and actually likes who I am as a person, that can stand being around me, that knows how fucking crazy I am and loves me still the same. And I'm surrounded by women who consistently just fucking save my life all the time. No matter what, they fucking fly to Portland to watch me speak, you know? They've heard this shit before. It's all the same, you know? But here they are, however many miles away from home, probably because of the weather. You guys, this weather is amazing. This is like the coldest winter day in Phoenix. So, you know, as I'm coming up here, I'm thinking about like just how fucking grateful I am that I know that I never have to feel like my skin is on inside out anymore. It still does sometimes, but I don't have to feel that way. I have a solution today, you know? And I don't have to writhe in pain on a bathroom floor trying to find a vein because I got good fucking veins again, guys. You know, like I don't have to not shit for a month. I mean, I'm regular, right? We were talking about this in the car. I was like, the thing that nobody talks about heroin addiction, right? Because my friend works in healthcare, and she was talking about these heroin addicts pulling poop out of their butt, and I was like, I've got a story, right? I mean, it's a good part of sobriety, right? Like my body works again. Things happen normally in normal fashions. It's great. But the most beautiful thing is not, you know, the fucking house, the car, the kid, the husband, whatever the fuck you think it is that will make your life better. Like, none of that shit is what does it. I will think that sometimes. But what does it is the internal spiritual freedom that I found through you guys, through the program, through the book, and most importantly, taking the action and having an authentic experience with it. So if you're struggling and you feel like you're doing all the things you're supposed to be doing and you're just not feeling it, be fucking honest about where you're at. Do you really fucking believe in the shit that it says in this book? And if not, why haven't you told somebody? And why aren't you asking the questions that are going to help you find the freedom that you're looking for? Because I always want my fucking lamp to be plugged in. I always want to be able to admit sobriety. And I know that I can't do that on my own. I'm always going to need you guys. I'm always going to need my higher power. And I'm always going to need the fellowship. And I really hope that there's never a big enough house or a cool enough car or, you know, enough kids or enough fucking whatever to get me to the point where I feel like I've arrived. Because whenever I feel like I've arrived, I'm really fucking sliding back down the hill towards spiritual death. And that feeling of needing to grow and having things to strive for and having things to work on within myself is one of the best feelings today. Like when I know I'm feeling shitty, I'm like, okay, this sucks, but this is like a really good thing because I'm about to grow. And it wasn't always that way. But now I'm like, I fucking hope I never feel like I don't need to grow. I never want to get there. I never want to be like, yep, super fucking spiritual, don't need to do anything. That sounds horrible to me, right? And so that I hope that you guys keep growing with me, you know, and stick around and stay here because there's a lot of us out there that haven't found us yet. And there's a lot of us out there that are going to die. And God, I just wish it didn't have to be that way, you know, because like what we've got here is really fucking cool. I should be dead so many times over, and I'm just fucking not. And that's crazy. So thanks so much for having me. I really love you guys. Have a good night.